Right. So, James, we are now live with our audience as well, and your screen has been presented too. Is
Cool.
it? Is it? Yeah, it works well for everyone. We see a thumbs up. So, James Q is leading one of the coolest projects that are coming on with PlatON, and
Mm.
he's the CTO of PlatON, and he's going to share everything, whatever he thinks, how blockchain and privacy is empowering finance, and how they're building that and tuning that
Mm.
into their ecosystem in PlatON, and what we can expect, and wherever they're listed in many places as well, I guess. And I'm myself really interested to hear what James has to say on this. All right, James, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hope everyone can clearly hear me. My name is James Q, CTO of PlatON Network. So before joining PlatON, I was working for Morgan Stanley and UBS for a few decades. So pretty pretty old. So I'm very happy to be here today to have a chance to share my thoughts with everyone, and also willing to hear your like a brilliant feedbacks. So first of all, you see two icons here. One is Latex X, is our foundation representing. Another one is PlatON, is it's an ecosystem we are building. So PlatON is combining blockchain as well as privacy preserving computation technology. On top of it, then there's the AI modeling, etc. Try to build up a decentralized and collaborative AI network. The explanation may be quite a little bit complicated, but it will be a AI network economy ecosystem, and LaTeX is sponsoring this. So today's topic, I want to more kind of specific, talking about blockchain and privacy empowers finance. So I will go to next slides. Try to how to move this one. Yeah. Okay. So uh, so right now we are kind of living in a so-called digital era. So look around, we are kind of surrounded by smart IoT devices all around us, even with our cell phone, right, by the mobile phone. So our daily lives as well as business, everything is kind of mirrored in the parallel digital world. So different forms of data like the audio, video, procedure, so how you are doing things, right? So the procedure logs kind of secretly or obviously collected and evaluated by the very kind of state-of-art AI modeling and the state-of-art cloud computers, massive big data, machine learning, and decision making, and all this kind of procedure optimization uh, actually brought huge value to our daily life as well as business. So basically, the cost is down and the efficiency is up. But what can enable all of this happening is the trust technology. So only with trust we can do kind of business smoothly with lower cost with more efficiency, right? So that's one of my talk about this trust technology, and also this also PlatON is focusing on. So talk about this technology. The very first one is a traditional centralized one. So we have traditional centralized systems like central banks, exchanges, this settlement clearing houses, etc. We do trust them, right? Or most of the time we trust them, and we trust certain commercial banks and exchanges, etc. But the world is changing by adopting of new technologies. So there are two this kind of shining stars. One is the well-known blockchain, or we can call it distributed ledger technology, which introduced decentralized consensus-based immutable ledger system. Right? I think all the experts here, or we all know it quite obvious. So you may observe it's already very successful on Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., etc. So including we build up a new generation of this kind of blockchain ecosystem with the Keychart consensus formally verified it. So pretty fast. We don't need the layer 2 at all, etc., etc. So especially this recent DeFi boom. So everybody I think all know it very much, dramatically changed the way of doing finance. So another example, for example, NFTs as a non-fungible token. So in my personal view, those NFTs is kind of is a packaging, is asset package, which can be traded as whole, like the structured products, etc., etc. Right, a huge kind of with swaps, with bonds, with all this kind of stuff compact together. We trade it as an NFT. That could be done. So in addition to this DLT, another one also contributes a lot for trust is the privacy preserving cryptography capability. So why this empower trust and how they do it? And I believe it's open doors to the new type of business not yet existing. So I want to share a few more thoughts from my side. Go to next. Oh, yeah. So in the financial service, one very important thing is the counterparty risk management. We only trust each other, then we can make the deal, make the business happy, make the business happen. So the trust technology, it could contribute from a lot of different angle. With the decentralized immutable ledger, it's a very clear evidence there. So we could reduce settlement risk for sure, and better to have a smart contract to do the settlement automatically afterwards, right? So that's even better. And between platforms. And secondly, with the counterparty with DID introduced it, the DID is a distributed identity. It's a kind of it's a universal digital ID cross platforms with privacy preserving technology to safeguard the sensitive information between platforms. The linkage and automated asset transfer or settlement could be done cross platforms. So that's the second one I want to mention here. And the third one, on top of DID, with a clearly well-defined combination of DIDs, we call it complicated objects or complicated organization. So the complicated group ID could be introduced, and the overall risk assessment could be done on, can summarize all those pieces, the sub DIDs risk, then combine to the overall group one. So all of this, we could do very complicated business on top of it. So the number 4 point I would highlight here is, on top of all above, the client credit profiling could be done with a the secure multi-party computation cross blockchain platforms. So it's a very trustworthy credit profiling, and that could greatly reduce cost as well as risks. So assume a client has multiple business, so play multiple roles across different platforms, has different IDs, and have different credit profiling on different platforms. So all of this could be done by this new technology. So moving to the next page. Another one I'm very my favorite topic is trading, since I was doing that for pretty long. So trading is actually assume in the previous slides, right? We could identify a counterparty well, decentralized asset for trading. That one, first of all, should be protected. So there are many ways to protect digital assets. For example, multi-signatures, the digital one, right? Multi-signatures, etc. Here, I want to share with you a more interesting way is to use this secure multi-party computation. You can also call it a threshold signature methodology. So, for example, you could image you trust an agent for many years, and private key, he could just handle your private key and manage whatever you had, right? So that means you rely on this agent. But can we still trust this agent for 20 years or 30 years? when the global events, so many new things happening, people changing, environment changing, etc. So we still want to control, to protect by ourselves, right? So for example, even after, for example, people enter 100 years old, right? When we got a little bit like slowing down the memory, memory became blurred, etc. The this guy may struggling to manage his private key, try to memorize in kind of in pieces, in shoes, in socks, in ceilings, to prevent forget, right? Or keep into bags. But that one, if you write it everywhere, it's high, kind of easy to be stolen, and your asset will come. But if you store in a bag far away, it's difficult to use, right? You cannot use it handy and try to sign the transactions and get your asset moving to generate more power, right? So we call it kind of high power money, etc. So another new type of kind of custody service could be based on MPC, as I mentioned above. The big difference here is the private key doesn't exist. It be calculated on the fly on the MPC platform. So that could be reshuffled regularly. So even, for example, a hacker hacked a system and finally stolen one, we call it private key share, one share, it cannot steal your asset at all. And when you find it, you could, after you regularly the shares got useless, right? So this time is it's hacker's headache how to hack your digital asset. So it's a quite new, fresh, new type of digital asset protecting method. So another one what I want to highlight is for smooth trading, the asset price will be the core, right? So the price has to be agreed to record it and then verified it, then executed, then settled. This is your a typical trade. And blockchain has a very brilliant, good stuff called consensus mechanism, which we could introduce and use it to get all parties agree on a pricing model. So pricing model all agreed it, even with the reference data. So based on what we define the price. So reference data from where and when to pick up what also agreed in this price model. When all of this be a common consensus, it will be quite straightforward. So anyone and everyone agreed it, then we trade and execute and settle. And those kind of price fitting model in the blockchain industry, we call it Oracle, right? We could have this price Oracle, etc. So that will reduce the cost and improve the efficiency. And of course, there always be the regulatory compliance requirement of client data protection. And when we introduce zero knowledge proof technology and other privacy preserving technology working together with blockchain, that will really open the door for traditional financial service. So client profiling, trading details will be protected when needed. So we want to trade, but we don't want to disclose all the details to anyone, right? So to everyone, to public. As long as the trade could be verified, could be trusted, and could be audited. So that's a few points I want to share on the trading side. I just mentioned the regulation, right? So on the regulation side, I just want to elaborate a little bit more. So the KYC that one could be conducted with DID implementation, and there will be pipes connecting to traditional platforms to get certified. As I listed, there are three kind of trust platforms: the centralized, traditional, central bank or whatever one still play a critical role there. as the, for example, as a DID or credit profiling certification, etc. Right? But with this distributed DID platform connected with the traditional platform, we could introduce kind of this next level KYC and next level anti-money laundering, CFT, anti-fraud, etc. So all of this, I think, not only required for traditional finance, we could also do it for crypto world as a self-discipline. So if you do have an ecosystem and try to play some internal audit or internal compliance policy, etc., we could also get this done. So in addition, Sandbox is always strong, helping innovations. So I do believe blockchain as a whole is played as a sandbox for the next digital era's financial system. So a lot of good hints, good innovation there we could follow and we could introduce to the traditional financial industry. So, for example, recently the Coinbase IPO, right? So that one, I take it pretty positive impact. I do believe it opened a door or opened a pipe between these two worlds. They will reference each other's how things doing, how things be conducted, etc. So should be a pretty good one. Next, I will just briefly introduce PlatON. What is PlatON, right? As I explained before, it's a combine the blockchain, privacy preserving, AI to three pillars, building a trust AI network using trust technology. So we are spending efforts on all of this. And this year, we have two threads. One is Alliance, one is PlatON, two ecosystem. And this year we have the PlatON mainnet live just a few days back. And we will introduce multiple privacy preserving protocols. And then we'll release the very first version of privacy computing network. So that's a quick introduction on this. I think the next few pages actually are those products we have done in the past. For example, this MPC-based asset custody service or product we call it Keychart. A few years back, we introduced it in 2 years back, and now we are looking to enhance it. And another example I want to share with this group is the structured products we have done for a traditional bank, top tier bank. It's the complicated financial products. It looks like an NFT, but there are lots of characteristic what kind of events could trigger what type of cash flow, and how to handle your cash flow, how to do the settlement, etc. So that's also one thing we have done. Another one I will see just to briefly sharing here is we are kind of helping traditional bank to turn itself into a so-called open bank, but with the privacy preserving. There are many regulations between financial institutions or even within one institution. So there is we call it Chinese firewall in the past. So two department or two institute cannot share sensitive data, right? So how to without sharing the raw data, keep it still local, without sharing anything, how to generate much better result, which control the risk with the so-called privacy funding, how to using a PC to achieve accurate client credit profiling, etc. So all of this with the traditional bank. And let me see. Yeah, and And this is the last slide I put interesting here. Is the PlatON mainnet just went technically went live on 25th, a few days back, and then we entered a community voting procedure. And today, I think how many hours back is 8 hours back, after community vote, the network launched it officially. And in the Genesis blog, we put something there. So quite interesting one to share. So we shall always keep the upper road and practice justice with prudency in every way. It's quoted from a Republic of Plato. So I want to end my presentation here by this Genesis blog quote. So we'll be quite happy if anyone has a brilliant idea or questions or advice to us. So we really want to working with experts from different industry, from different give us different view, different thoughts. So we try to leverage the trust technology to bring the trust to our digital next digital era, to contribute to it. So that's all I want to share for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, James. It was pretty awesome to know you basically the whole PlatON project that you just showcased us and gave us so much insights
See,
on
there is a question.
on
How do you
technical
balance the
side. I will.
desire for privacy with the demands of regulators to gain data and oversight analyze? Yeah, I think traditionally what we are doing is centralized platform. We store all the data there. For example, for a traditional financial industry, we say at least 10 years, record on tape, etc. So when auditing step in, we dump all of them, right? So that's a centralized way. But in this kind of decentralized, open or public blockchain ecosystem, it's much harder to achieve this one. So one is we need to use privacy preserving technology to protect client profiling, client trading details. So the normal people or not related people will see them just as the very simple encrypted data. Will never know what it is. But when regulator or this steps in, we do need provided or also after kind of a KYC after all of this, there will be a view only key could dig into the data and pick up those data and display what it is and generate reports. So that will be related within our new infrastructure is a permission cryptography related permission framework. Right. Yeah, there is a from the IT expert. How much of government interface would you see specifically in China, where everything government controlled? Yeah, that's a quite interesting question. So in China, including the blockchain, the national blockchain network, etc. So it's highly regulated and very much controlled. So we are working with banks on the help them to protect data. So China also issued the privacy preserving law recently, taking effect. So the for the commercial usage, etc., all kind of data abusing activities need to stop, and we are helping them. So that's for one. We are more kind of working with global counterparties. So the LatexX Foundation is based in Singapore. So we are actively or proactively working, following Mars directions, working with those banks in Singapore like DBS or Standard Chartered, etc. Try to appeal this kind of trust technology could be used in the traditional banks. So we are more focusing on kind of a global ecosystem on blockchain, on public blockchain. What can be done? What can be done for traditional financial services? So let me move on to the next one. What kind of steps in PlatON planning to adapt traditional finance within the blockchain space? How do you deal with the regulative problems, keep a balance between the data privacy and financial institution requirement? Right. So the first half of the question is the traditional finance within the blockchain space. So this is quite a challenging work. So we do have internal design already on the KYC framework, on the AML framework. For example, the blacklist Oracle, right? So only certified that government agent could publish this blacklist, etc. And this blacklist will be used for anti-money laundering, and the transaction verification and the settlement will refer to that blacklist, etc. So this type of innovation on technical side, we are keep moving. To how to keep the balance between data privacy and the financial institution request. I think they are in sync. So traditional finance institutions, they always require data privacy. So there is lots of we try to analyze their use case to decouple the data life cycle. So it's quite complicated, very long and quite complex. We try to decouple them and using the most suitable privacy preserving methodology there could be simply zero knowledge proof. It's quite ZK snarks. It's quite established that, or it's more complicated. This private set intersection, or this proxy kind of stuff, or even considering the TEE stuff. So we are focusing on MPC as main, but we will really pick up those suitable suitable methodology for complicated scenarios. So that's the
Awesome.
my quick answer.
So
I saw a next question: how can DID plus DLT be utilized to accelerate financial inclusion, especially with undocumented individuals in less developed countries in Asia and Africa? For this one is quite challenging. So the public chain ecosystem, the DeFi related stuff, we try to bring this financial service to everyone, right? But the DID, basically, if we could build up an DAO, right, the decentralized organizations, we issue DID on public chain ourselves, so there will be no barrier to block those undocumented individuals, I'm sure. So if you insist DID has to be, we call it credential. It's a multiple credential for a complicated DID. That DID has to be verified against a you see documented, right, the central government system. Then it will be a different story. So my view here is we innovate all this capability, and we could use it and demo it as if a public chain to make it successful. And later on, when it connected with traditional government platform smoothly, then the traditional financial services could be kind of introduced. That will be the door will be really open. But without that part for undocumented individuals, then we could set up the one with the community by themselves.
Awesome, James. Awesome.
Okay.
I think we
Yeah,
got
thanks very much.
most of the answers, and
Questions, very good questions.
yeah, yeah. Most of the answers had a lot of wisdom in them, and thank you so much for answering all the questions
Okay,
that
so